Welcome to another episode of Just the Picks, the YouTube exclusive version of our show on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. We've already hit you once with a little F1 flavor as they're down in China this weekend, but the IndyCar circuit is taking to the thermal track out there in Thermal, California. Of course, site of last year's million.
You gotta put your pinky up, Rod. It's the Thermal Club.
Thermal Club out in Thermal, California, which, by the way, is just it's another way to say it's down there in Southern California.
Yes.
They raced there last year, that $1 million challenge that they did, and now there's an official Grand Prix there. Cody, last year's thermal race was quite it was something. Obviously, it was a different format, and there was millions of dollars at stake, but that track is crazy.
Yeah, it was action-packed, and they had the weird format. It's a lot like when NASCAR does these exhibition races and stuff. You had heat races and qualifiers and all sorts of weird stuff. So you didn't get a feel of like what a full-on race would look like here. And then the main event was a much shorter version. It got really spread out right away, and then that was kind of the end of it. So pretty hard to, I think, look back on last year. This is going to be more about just where do you feel guys are at now, maybe some situations where you think guys will be put in that could make them good bets. So not a bunch of, history to go back on. Obviously, just the one race here, and it wasn't even close to really what this race is going to be. So I think it's pretty tough to look too hard. You can definitely draw some things from it for sure if you want to, but tough to look too hard into that. So not a big stat-backed race to bet on this week.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case in this, in that we've got, there's 17 turns. It is a 4.963 or 4.936 kilometer course, which is just over 3 miles. And I mean, this isn't a street course. It's not a sanctioned road course too much by the stretch of the imagination. It's sort of a course that folks built in their backyard to race their fast cars.
Well, and that's what makes it so unique, because it is, everywhere else we race is a street course that's designed for this, or it's a road course that is designed to have road course races on it. And this, I'm sure they designed to have some races, but this is really like you got to be a member of this club and you have a lot of money and you have your fancy cars. You want to go drive fast. Like, here's a place for you. Like, this is the country club of racetracks. So it is just different. And they just redid the pit road area, because they're like, obviously wasn't really much of a pit road because, well, you don't really pit when you're just driving your Lambo around, right? And so they just kind of finished that out for this. So it's all sort of just a new thing, which is going to be interesting and a lot of fun, I think.
It is going to be exactly that. So, as we are here to do, we're just going to give you just the picks. So, Cody, let's start our card off for this Thermal Club race.
Yeah, give me Pato Award plus 180 over on DraftKings, finish on the podium. Again, not a ton of stats to really dig into or go really far on this, but he's the guy over there at McLaren. We think that they're going to, and we have one race to look at this year, but a lot of stuff happened in that race, had some strategy stuff, had some wrecks. He finished 11th place there, not the best run ever, but I'm big on Pato this year, and I think that this is kind of his year. He actually showed some good flashes of speed and being able to handle this course last year. Again, take that maybe with a bit of a grain of salt, but I'm all in on Pato Award, so give me him as a podium finisher, plus 180 over on DraftKings.
Yeah, it's really not a bad thing, because this guy, he can pull it out whenever he wants, so I love that as well. Okay, I am going to take a group bet here over on Hard Rock. Pardon me. They have got Group C over there in Hard Rock, and I'm going to take Alexander Rossi to finish better than Marcus Ericsson, Felix Rosenqvist, and Christian Lundgaard in this one, plus 325 for Alexander Rossi. I mean, look, I get it. And last year he actually did finish better than all of these guys in terms of average finish overall on the season. So I'm kind of drawing back to his ability to drive better than most. He actually finished as the 10th best driver on the season in terms of overall points. And pardon me, man, I get so excited about this. In an average finish, he was 10.6 in our 10.4 rather in average finish. So top 10. I will say this is a very close group, though, because as you take a look at what happened last year, Christian Lundgaard, 11th place, Felix Rosenqvist, 12th place in that, and then Marcus Ericsson, 15th. Like, there was some pretty close battles between these guys all season long. But Alexander Rossi coming off of a pretty good finish last week as well. So to me, I think this is, you're taking a good guy, you're taking a good car, and you're giving a really good number for a driver to finish better than the other three. And what I love about it the most is that you don't have to worry about him finishing in a position. You just got to have him finish better than everybody. He did finish 10th last week, so a good start on a street course for Alexander Rossi. So give me him to win Group C over on Hard Rock at plus 325.
Yeah, speaking of somebody who had a good week last week, I like Kyle Kirkwood over Will Power. This is plus 140 over on ESPN Bet. I think that Power should be favored over Kirkwood in a matchup, certainly, but Kirkwood we've really seen kind of blossom over the last couple of seasons and get better. Fifth place run last time out, of course, at St. Pete to start the season. So you like that. Power wrecked in that one, so of course he beat him there. But Power's just so hit and miss, especially down the stretch last season. He had some good runs, winning at Portland and everything, but then he also had some really bad finishes in quite a few races. And I guess they both can be a little bit hit and miss, but the fact that what I'm looking at here is you're getting a guy plus 140 that's really stepped up his game lately against a guy in Power that certainly is a solid driver. Not usually ever going to be the fastest guy out there. Sometimes he finishes well. A lot of times he has problems. So it's not such a sure thing that he should be I think he's like minus 160 or minus 170 on the other side of this. I feel like that's a little bit of a lopsided matchup. So I'm going to call the shot on Kirkwood to beat Power at plus 140. And then Caesars, we're still, hopefully we're getting a little bit better in the IndyCar world. Its odds are coming out a little earlier than they were last year, which is not saying much because they weren't coming out early at all last year, but we're getting some more options slowly. Caesars has a pre-built top manufacturer with Joseph Newgarden as the top Chevy, Scott Dixon as the top Honda at 22-1. Look, Alex Palou, I think this is his race to lose, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I think that there's very much a case for this. Newgarden, one of the best drivers in the entire series. We know that, right? He could easily be the top finishing Chevy, no matter where Palou finishes. Of course, he's got his teammates in McLaughlin and even Power and some other guys in the Chevy camp there, but he could finish as the top Chevy. Top Honda for Dixon. I mean, he's coming off a good run last time out at St. Pete, ends up with the second place finish there. As far as top Honda goes, Palou is going to be the biggest contender, of course. You get the guys like Herta and that to worry about, but if you put them together, they both happen to be up front at the end of the day. You get them at 22-1. I think that's pretty decent for a top manufacturer parlay from two guys that I expect to be in the mix near the front at the end of the day. So give me the Newgarden top Chevy and Dixon top Honda parlay at 22-1 over on Caesars.
Good stuff. I love it. All right, I'm going to turn my attention to a guy who is no stranger to the podium, Scott Dixon. Put him back on the podium this week for the second straight week at plus 180. Bet 365 has this one as well. Unfortunately, Scott Dixon did not make the all-star portion of this event last year, so he really doesn't have very good success on this track in the one race that they did it on. But last week, stood on the second step of the podium. He had 5 podium finishes last year in 17 starts. I mean, it's Scott Dixon. It's very hard to keep this Ganassi car out of the podium. And we found out last week that it doesn't matter what's going on around the guy. There could be strategy going along all over the place, and he still manages to find his way to the front. And he even led 5 laps in this race. So there was an opportunity for him to actually win this race at some point if he would have played his cards right. But a second place finish for him last week. I think that bodes well for another good run from Scott Dixon. So put him back on the podium. I like that he's at plus money for this one too, plus 180 to get back up there and kind of shed the ghosts of that $1 million challenge past.
Yeah, you know how much I love Scott Dixon. I think that this could end up being some fuel mileage strategy stuff in here. We know nobody's better than him in IndyCar than Scott Dixon. So I like that. Going to the outright market, Alex Palou plus 220 over on DraftKings. That's the best price I'm seeing. He's the heavy favorite. He's the chalk. I'm eating all the chalk this week because I just think that Alex Palou's the guy to beat here. This course, kind of the way it lays out, I think we're going to get a very strung out race. You look back at last year, all 20 laps in the main event, it was the Alex Palou show. He started up front, took off, led all 20 laps, wins the $1 million. And I think that, he come out already this season. He wins at St. Pete, even though it took a little bit of strategy for him to get up there, certainly to get it done. But he did so, got it done. And I think that this is an Alex Palou world that we're living in. I think that this race sets up perfectly for him. So give me Alex Palou plus 220 over on DraftKings. And then Scott Dixon, I'm going to take him 9-1 because of pretty much all the same reasons you just said. over on the podium side of things, right? If we think he can get to the podium, I think he could win this race. I think it could come down to fuel mileage. Again, we have no idea because we've not seen this race before, but very long track. If it does go green, strategy could come into play big time in this one. You always love that with Dixon. Got a second place last week for the Iceman. He still knows how to get it done. So I love Scott Dixon to win this race at 9-1 if Alex Blow doesn't do it at plus 220.
I mean, Alex Palou won the All-Star race last week, so or last season rather. So I figure that's probably a good enough pick as any, and the price is right too for Alex Palou, because you're hardly ever going to find him for a whole lot more. He's one of those Max Verstappen-esque type drivers where you got to get him where you got to get him. All right, I'm turning my attention to the thirsty threes in Scott McLaughlin plus 375 on bet 365 for Scott McLaughlin. You got to love the symmetry. Guy came in second in the All-Star race here last week, one step away from the podium to start off the season in St. Petersburg. I don't know that there's anything much more that you have to say about this Penske car that I'm telling you right now, it's Scott McLaughlin. It's these guys. It's the New Gardens of the world. These guys are always going to be jockeying for a position up the front. And for McLaughlin, look, like I said, finished second on this track already, so he feels comfortable on this. I know you can't draw a whole lot from it, but familiarity, finishing second to Alex Palou, you got to prove that there's some comfortability in that ride. And like I said, he finished fourth place last week, so he's already off to a great start to the season. So I think it's time for the Thirsty Threes to stand on the top step of the podium this week at the Thermal Club. So give me McLaughlin at plus 375.
Yeah, no arguments from me there. I love some Scotty Mac, so I would love to see it happen. And yeah, you can't argue with symmetry like that on the threes.
No, you cannot. 3-3-3-3-3-3-3-3. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us for another Just the Picks episode, where of course we just give you the picks, and hopefully you will have some fun watching this Thermal Club race this weekend, as much fun as we'll have. And yeah, we'll see you back here next week for Indy, for whatever else we want. Maybe motocross. We'll sneak something in for you, but guaranteed.
We're always gonna find something to bet on, Rod, in the motorsports world, and that's what this is here for.
It is indeed. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week with more Just the Picks.